Many thanks for staying with us. ChannelsTV.com has more information for you, or before that, if you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television. A reminder of our major stories. Governors of Nigeria's northwest states demand review of ECOWAS protocol on free movement to check the influx of armed bandits into the country and end the violence. Co-conveners of Not Too Young to Run movement give up on producing young presidential candidates ahead of the 2019 general election. List qualities to look out for in a preferred candidate. President Muhammadu Buhari commends Supreme Court judgment in favor of Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki, asked Nigerians to emulate Saraki's perseverance. And terror group Al-Shabaab claims responsibility for the explosion that killed at least 10 people in the Somali capital, Mogadishu. ChannelsTV.com has more information for you, and on youtube.com/channelsweb, you can see our videos. You can also watch us on your mobile device via your browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows devices from their respective stores. And besides giving you access to news updates on the go, the Channels TV and Channels 24 app has an eyewitness feature, so you can use it to share those pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and follow the instructions. I was staying with the Abacha loot, and that comment you heard earlier from the Labour leader, Mr. Issa Aremu, is what many state governments are presently yearning for, but it has raised a lot of dust, including from members of the National Assembly who are against it. The federal government plans to share 5,000 naira each to 302,000 poor families under a social intervention program. Our next report takes us a look at these issues.
Your Excellency, Mr. President.
The plan by the federal government to share the $322 million, which is approximately about 115 billion naira loot, recovered from the late military leader Sani Abacha among poor Nigerians, is still generating controversy, with many asking the obvious question: how will government reach those classified poor? That question probably did not get the attention of many Nigerians until lawmakers in the House of Representatives raised their concerns on the matter.
We should also be able to establish how was such money utilized.
They obviously have an axe to grind with the federal government. They are insisting that the money cannot be spent without the approval of the National Assembly. They are also questioning the motive behind the decision and are wondering how the government plans to determine which families are the poorest. They also want the federal government to disclose how much in total of the Abacha loot has been recovered, amongst others.
We can utilize the federal government share of this fund to complete Ajaokuta Steel Complex. This will create a lot of boost in the economy, and it's going to create a lot of jobs for the people.
They probably have spoken the minds of Nigerians, since they represent the majority, and that includes those classified as poor and vulnerable. 302,000 households are expected to get 5,000 naira each from the 115 billion naira loot, and analysts say this is just about 1% of the actual repatriated fund. And then another question comes knocking: what happens to the remaining fund? A senior special advisor to the Vice President, Jumoke Oduwole, explains that the scheme is not new to developed countries, but Nigeria's case is peculiar.
So we have to give some attention to the very poor. The fact that you and I can read and write, everyone that can read and write in this country is actually part of the elite. And we actually have a responsibility to take care of those that are very, very poor within our midst. And that's what this intervention is aimed at.
Now, The buck lies with the federal government to decide if the questions asked by the lawmakers and indeed Nigerians will be answered before it starts disbursing the monies under its conditional cash transfer program. Perhaps we ask again, how best should government spend the recovered loot?
To politics now. The prospect of producing a youth candidate for the 2019 presidential election is unrealistic, but young people should decide to support candidates with a track record for youth development. That's part of the decisions from the Youths Decide conference in Abuja, which was attended by co-conveners of the Not Too Young to Run campaign. The conference is one of those gatherings of young people with the aim of telling them the qualities to look out for in candidates vying for positions during the 2019 general elections.
Arguably, the campaign for more political space for young people in Nigeria has never been so noticeable as the one championed by the Not Too Young to Run campaigners. The movement traversed the length and breadth of the country as campaigners mounted pressure on federal and state lawmakers to sign into law the bill reducing age requirements for people vying for political office. That struggle paid off when President Buhari assented to the bill in May this year. With that piece of legislation secured, the task ahead of young people seeking political office has now shifted to the choice of candidates, and this is the crux of the discussions as the coalition of youth-based political movements converged on the International Conference Center in Abuja. For some, the prospect of having a young presidential candidate for 2019 is unrealistic. But there is urgent need for young people to build capacity ahead of 2023.
There's a reality check when it comes to politics. We only have 7 months to go to the polls. We can't produce a youth president. But what can we do? We are 67 million eligible registered voters. If you understand politics, you are a force to reckon with. But let us look beyond 2019, because 2019 is already here and it's gone. Let's look at 2023.
Although the prospect of having a young presidential candidate appears to be very slim, some of the decisions at this conference is to support candidates with track records for youth development.
The first major challenge of leadership in Nigeria is that citizens are not having much of credible options to choose from. New standards for leadership have to be set by young people based on the future they truly deserve to be part of. They must base their judgment on track records. You don't build reputation based on what you will do, but based on what you've done in time past. And these are things Nigerians must begin to look at ahead of 2019.
Any party that doesn't give youth tickets to youth aspirants, we shouldn't vote for that party. It means that party does not support young people. And we expect, and I do expect, that young people in political parties, in all the 68 political parties, should go and stampede their political parties and tell them, if you don't give youth candidates tickets, we will not vote for you.
There is an estimated 80 million registered voters ahead of the 2019 general elections in Nigeria, and youths constitute over 50% of this number. They are no doubt a huge force to reckon with.
Joining us on the news at 10 to examine the chances of the Nigerian youths ahead of the 2019 general elections is a political science lecturer from the University of Lagos, Dr. Kayode Ishola. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Ishola, you heard that report. Do you think it's too early for some of the youths, especially those at the Youth Decide conference in Abuja, to give up on picking a candidate for 2019?
Well, maybe the first thing we should advise the youth about is to forgive the president, because after signing the bill, it is, the way it appears to me, a reversal of the probable statement that they were lazy and jobless. Now, if they were lazy and jobless, and the president has now made well to sign the bill recognizing them as not too young to run,
Well, you also mentioned something
that's on a light note.
Yeah, but he also mentioned something that day. He told them, wait till when I'm done, when after 2019. Do you think that statement probably fell on fertile ground?
Yeah, well, I think we have to look at it very critically. Looking at 2019, the immediate realm, it may be difficult, if not impossible, for anybody to think of a very young president now. And the president made it clear that logistic-wise, in terms of planning, in terms of organization, in terms of structures, which are all key when you talk about politics, it is almost impossible for the youth to have it in 2019. But they can look ahead and see what happens in future.
But some of them are already throwing their hat in the ring.
Oh, fine. It's okay. You try politics once, doesn't mean that you are going to win once. After all, the current president of Nigeria tried 2-3 times before he became president. So, I mean, politicking is a process. It doesn't start today and end today. You just have to start. And the only way to start is just to start.
Now, we have a lot of young presidents around the world. One of them just visited us recently, which is the French president, Emmanuel Macron, and he asked the Nigerian youth to get more involved in politics. So should some of them be giving up yet?
No, I don't think they should give up. And I don't imply that they should give up. They should be more involved in politics. But the question is, how will they be involved? Is it by violence? Is it by sitting somewhere and waiting for people to bribe them to go and vote for one party or the other? Or by engaging critically the stakeholders and the structures and institutions that are necessary towards improving, the development of the country in terms of politics? Which are the options that they have, and how do they utilize the options? For me, the Nigerian youth should be more interested in developing themselves. And in doing that, the law has been made, but the government also needs to be advised that there must be political will to make the law implementable. In a country where civil servants still take 18,000 naira minimum wage per month, the youth who just leave secondary school or university who wants to become a governor or a president tomorrow will never fit into the political structure.
Well, what about the issue of godfatherism, in quotes, like they say in the political language?
And that is what I meant by saying that the political class must create structures and environment that will make the law implementable. Otherwise, it is only going to snowball into another level of godfatherism, in which case you have a young man in office, but the man in power is actually that old person who has stolen a lot of money and who will continue to control and remote that person to do what is antithetical to the development of the nation. That's one dimension. Another dimension in which it may manifest is that the children of those old people we are talking about, who have stolen so much money and hidden so much money somewhere, are going to be the ones who will return
as youths,
under the umbrella of youth and then be ruling on behalf of their parents. And that is why, emphatically, please move that, I said, not only the law, but the government should complete the process by creating the environment that will make the law implementable. After all, law is just an instrument in the hand of politics. Law says what it says. It is the politics that makes it work.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ishola, for speaking with us on the News at 10.
Thank you very much.
And when the News at 10 returns, African Development Bank unveils $12 billion investment plan in Nigeria's energy sector and other African countries. That's on Business News. Join us again.